Ancient monuments are not just ruins, they are vast libraries carved from stone, holding scientific secrets for thousands of years. This video will show you how to read the hidden data in these structures, revealing a lost chapter in human history. By the end, you will see ancient sites not as silent piles of rock, but as sophisticated archives of astronomy, engineering, and mathematics. We will explore why a pyramid's shafts align with specific stars and how a stone circle can predict an eclipse with stunning accuracy. What forgotten knowledge do you think is waiting to be unlocked from the world's oldest stone libraries? The idea of a library made of stone forces us to rethink everything. We are accustomed to archives filled with scrolls and codices, but the most enduring libraries ever built contain no paper at all. They are the monuments themselves. A true stone archive is not a building that merely houses knowledge. It is a structure where the very form, alignment, and geometry are the information. This is knowledge intentionally encoded into architecture, a deliberate effort to preserve complex data like the 18.6-year lunar cycle or the precise value of pi using the most durable medium our ancestors had. Stone, this was not accidental. It represents a conscious, sophisticated decision to communicate across vast stretches of time. Picture these sites not as silent ruins, but as sophisticated time capsules. The capsule is the message, a complex puzzle waiting for a future generation to learn its language and finally read its contents. This perspective fundamentally reshapes how we view ancient archaeological sites, transforming them from mysterious relics into deliberate and brilliant communications. To truly grasp how such a feat was possible, we must first understand the minds behind the masonry, the master builders who saw stone not just as a building material, but as a permanent page for their most vital records. Who were these master builders, these architects of eternity? They were far more than laborers hauling stone. They were astronomer-priests and engineer scholars, individuals who saw no division between the laws of the cosmos and the principles of construction. Their knowledge was a single, unified tapestry weaving together empirical observation and spiritual belief. Think of the unknown genius who designed the Great Pyramid's precise alignment, or the teams who plotted the astronomical sightlines at Stonehenge. They were not just building monuments, they were creating functional cosmic calendars and terrestrial maps, using the landscape itself as their parchment. What kind of mind plans for a future they will never personally witness? These individuals worked within cultures that thought in terms of centuries, even millennia. Their vision was not for their own lifetimes, but for generations yet unborn. This long-term perspective stands in stark contrast to our own often short-sighted world, serving as a powerful reminder of what humanity can achieve when it builds for legacy rather than immediate reward. And with remarkably simple tools, they had no laser theodolites or computer models. Their technology was the knotted cord for measuring, the sighting pole for alignment, the water level for achieving perfect flatness. Yet with these basic instruments, they achieved intellectual and architectural feats that continue to baffle and inspire us. Their true medium for this enduring legacy was the stone they so masterfully shaped. But how do you actually encode complex data into something as solid and silent as a block of granite? The answer lies in a forgotten language, a code written not in words, but in angles, alignments, and precise mathematical ratios. Stone was chosen because it speaks the language of eternity. Its resistance to fire, water, and the slow decay of time made it the ultimate medium for a message meant to span millennia. But the choice was never random. Different civilizations selected specific stones with deliberate purpose. The ancient Egyptians favored granite for its immense hardness, a material so durable it would preserve precise carvings for ages. In contrast, limestone was often chosen for its workability, allowing for the intricate detail seen in temple reliefs, and basalt, with its dark, imposing presence, frequently carried profound symbolic weight, representing the fertile earth or the night sky. The stone itself was the first layer of the code. The methods of encoding that followed were brilliantly diverse. Some messages were written in alignment. A temple gateway perfectly facing the rising sun on the equinox, or a narrow corridor designed to be illuminated by a single star on one specific night of the year. These are not architectural quirks. They are deliberate data points, permanent records of celestial patterns. Other knowledge was carved into the stone's surface. Intricate reliefs did more than tell myths. They depicted constellations, recorded comet appearances, and mapped the complex dance of planets, turning temple walls into permanent astronomical charts. Perhaps the most abstract code of all was written in geometry and harmonic proportion. Builders used perfect squares, the golden ratio, and precise mathematical constants to define the shapes of their structures. These ratios are a universal language, understandable to any future culture that discovers the same mathematical truths. The sheer scale of the construction process itself added another layer of information. Quarrying a multi-ton block of granite, transporting it across vast distances, and fitting it with joints too tight for a razor blade was a monumental feat of engineering. This was a practical demonstration of their understanding of leverage, sledges, ramps, and logistics. The entire project was a live experiment in physics and geology, its results permanently recorded in the assembled megaliths. Every aspect of these stone archives, from the mineral chosen to the final angle of a wall, was a deliberate entry in a vast, silent library. And to read the most profound entries, you often have to look up from the stone and into the sky. The sky was indeed their first and greatest textbook, its cycles governing every aspect of life from planting to harvest, from ritual to rule. And the most brilliant ancient builders did not merely observe the heavens. They brought the sky down to earth, encoding its movements directly into their architecture. The Great Pyramid of Giza offers a stunning example. Its narrow, upward-sloping shafts were not for ventilation, as was once thought. One shaft points directly toward the star Thuban, which was the North Star at the time of its construction. Another aligns with the belt of the constellation we call Orion. These were not random choices. They were permanent markers, stone pathways to the very specific celestial bodies that anchored their cosmic understanding. Across the ocean at Stonehenge, the massive trilithons create a perfect frame for the rising sun on the summer solstice. This alignment is so precise that thousands still gather to witness it every year, a testament to a design that has held true for millennia. It functioned as a colossal, unbreakable calendar, marking the year's most important turning point. In Chaco Canyon, a spiral petroglyph is transformed by a sliver of sunlight that pierces through a rock crevice. On the summer solstice, this sun dagger perfectly bisects the center of the spiral. On the equinox, it slices through the carving in a different, equally deliberate way. This is not a static monument. It is an interactive astronomical instrument, a light show engineered by master builders to mark the sun's precise position in the sky. These structures were far more than temples. They were practical observatories that allowed priest astronomers to predict seasons, to forecast eclipses, and to track the 18.6-year lunar cycle. This knowledge was power. It told farmers when to sow their crops. It told societies when to hold their most sacred ceremonies. and it provided a stable, perpetual calendar that ensured order and continuity in a world governed by celestial forces. But to achieve such perfect alignments, these builders needed more than just a map of the stars. They needed an equally profound understanding of the earth beneath their feet. The silent language of stone extends far beyond celestial alignments into the very geometry of the structures themselves. These ancient builders were not just master astronomers. They were brilliant mathematicians, encoding profound principles into the dimensions of their monuments long before those principles were formally named. Consider the Pythagorean theorem, the famous rule governing right-angled triangles. It appears with stunning accuracy in the proportions of the Great Pyramid, constructed millennia before the Greek philosopher Pythagoras was even born. The pyramid's base and its slanting sides create a perfect 3-4-5 triangle, a practical application of a complex mathematical truth. This was not a coincidence. It was a deliberate demonstration of knowledge. Across the ancient world, this pattern repeats. The Parthenon in Greece is famously designed around the golden ratio, a specific proportional relationship, approximately 1.618 to 1, that is found throughout nature, from the spiral of a nautilus shell to the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower. By embedding this ratio into their temple's facade, the builders were not merely seeking beauty. They were attempting to construct a building that resonated with the fundamental order of the universe itself. In the East, the intricate and breathtaking designs of mandalas were translated directly into temple layouts. These complex geometric patterns, representing the cosmos, guided the construction of entire sacred spaces, turning abstract spiritual concepts into tangible, walkable architecture. This widespread use of sacred geometry served a dual purpose. On one hand, it was believed to imbue a structure with harmonic balance, making it spiritually potent and connected to cosmic forces. On the other, it often resulted in incredible structural integrity. The same perfect proportions that pleased the gods also created buildings that could withstand earthquakes and the relentless passage of centuries. The precise angles, the recurring ratios, the flawless symmetry, all of it forms a sophisticated mathematical language. This language does not use words or numbers as we know them. Instead, it uses space and form to convey universal concepts of balance, order, and the underlying structure of reality. This mathematical mind was not confined to abstract theory. It was a practical tool for comprehending and mapping the entire physical world, from the vastness of the planet down to the smallest unit of measurement. This global network of stone suggests a mind that thought in continents, not just cities. Beyond their celestial and mathematical codes, many ancient monuments appear to be placed with a startlingly precise understanding of the Earth itself. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, sits at the exact latitude that divides the planet's landmass into two nearly equal halves. It is positioned at the center of the Earth's continental plates. Was this a deliberate choice? Some researchers point to the so-called world grid theory, where sites like Easter Island, the Great Pyramid, and the ancient city of Angkor Wat appear to align along specific great circle routes, forming a planetary web of sacred geometry. Whether this was by meticulous design or a shared, intuitive discovery of powerful terrestrial energy, remains one of history's greatest debates. What is undeniable is that these placements reveal an advanced awareness of geodesy, the science of measuring and understanding the Earth's shape and size. This knowledge was recorded on a truly monumental canvas. Far to the south, the Nazca lines of Peru present a different kind of geodetic puzzle. These vast geoglyphs depicting animals, plants, and geometric shapes are virtually invisible from the ground. They only make sense when viewed from high above. Were they intended as markers for celestial gods, Or could they have been a massive, scaled map of terrestrial features or underground water sources, a survival guide etched into the desert floor for those who could read it? These colossal earthworks imply that the builders possessed not only the technical skill for large-scale surveying, but also a conceptual understanding of their place on a much larger globe. This preserved knowledge was not solely focused on the grand scales of cosmos and planet. It also encoded the microcosm of human life and society. The very act of organizing thousands of workers to build a pyramid or raise a stone circle required sophisticated social structures, advanced logistics, and a shared cultural vision. The monuments themselves became the ultimate record of that social contract, a permanent testament to what a coordinated human community could achieve. They preserved the blueprint of civilization itself. Long before the alphabet was even a concept, our ancestors were already writing in stone. The very first data entries in these ancient archives were not words but symbols. Petroglyphs carved into canyon walls and pictograms painted on cave surfaces represent humanity's earliest operating system, a symbolic code designed to store everything from epic myths and genealogies to complex star charts and vital survival knowledge. Think of the Lascaux cave paintings in France. For decades, they were seen as simple depictions of ancient animals, but recent studies suggest something far more sophisticated. The arrangement of certain animals may not be random art. They could be a detailed map of the night sky, with painted bull and bird figures corresponding to specific constellations like Taurus and the Pleiades. This was not just a gallery. It was a celestial record, a durable chart of the cosmos etched deep underground for safekeeping. This same impulse to preserve data in a permanent medium is evident with Mesopotamian cuneiform. While written on clay tablets, the principle is identical. Pressing wedge-shaped marks into wet clay that was then baked hard created an incredibly resilient record, a testament to the universal human need to make information outlast its creator. These inscriptions are the crucial software that runs on the hardware of the great stone monuments. A pyramid's alignment tells you when the solstice occurs, but the carvings on its walls tell you why it mattered, weaving the architectural data into a rich narrative of gods, kings, and cosmic order. Deciphering this symbolic language is the ultimate key to unlocking the full archive, and the architects of these libraries often designed their code with an extra layer of genius. The messages were frequently meant to be read not just with the eyes, but with the sun itself. At many sites, specific carvings are only fully illuminated by a sliver of sunlight on one particular day of the year, like the solstice or an equinox. The stone becomes a dynamic display where light and shadow act as a pointer, highlighting critical information only when it is cosmically relevant. This transforms a static image into an interactive astronomical instrument. The stone holds the data, but the sun provides the password. Mastering the flow of time was the first step toward mastering the world itself. The most common and vital data preserved in these stone archives was the calendar itself. Across the globe, ancient engineers transformed bedrock and masonry into immense, permanent timepieces. High in the Andes, the Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu stands as a sophisticated solar clock. Its precise angles and carved surfaces cast shadows that mark the solstices and equinoxes with unerring accuracy, literally tying the sun to the stone. Far to the north, the Mayan observatory at Chichen Itza, known as El Caracol, features narrow windows perfectly aligned to track the complex cycle of the planet Venus. This was not just about marking days. It was about synchronizing an entire society with the unyielding rhythms of the cosmos. These monumental calendars dictated the most crucial moments of the year, telling farmers exactly when to plant and when to harvest, and governing the timing of sacred ceremonies that maintained the cosmic order. The sheer accuracy of these stone calendars is staggering. They often achieved a precision of mere days over spans of centuries, a feat that required generations of meticulous, unbroken observation. This deep understanding of celestial cycles was not an abstract hobby. It was the very foundation of power and stability. A civilization that could predict the seasons could ensure its own survival, plan its food supply, and organize its labor force with incredible efficiency. This mastery of time was the bedrock upon which advanced, enduring societies were built. But the ancient architects did not stop at measuring the cycles of the sun and moon. They applied the same brilliant engineering to another, equally vital element, the essential flow of water. Water was the lifeblood of any great civilization, and the mastery of its flow was an engineering secret carved directly into the landscape. The ancient city of Mohenjo-Daro, in what is now Pakistan, was built with a network of intricate brick-lined drains and wells that serviced nearly every home. This was not a simple ditch. It was a sophisticated, covered sewage system that used gravity to carry waste away from populated areas, demonstrating a profound understanding of public health and urban planning millennia before modern sanitation. Deep within the rose-red cliffs of Petra, the Nabateans performed even greater hydraulic miracles. They carved complex channels and dams into the canyon walls, not just to bring water in, but to control devastating flash floods. Their system included terracotta pipes, settling tanks to filter silt, and reservoirs that could hold millions of gallons, transforming a desert wadi into a thriving, defensible capital. High in the Andes, the builders of Machu Picchu engineered a series of 16 fountains that cascaded through the ceremonial center. The water was channeled from a natural spring over a distance, with each fountain carefully designed to maintain a consistent flow rate and minimize splashing, a testament to an precise, practical grasp of hydraulics and water pressure. These structures are more than ruins. They are stone textbooks on civil engineering. Each channel and sluice gate a permanent lesson in how to harness gravity, manage a volatile resource, and build a society resilient against both drought and deluge. This practical science was as vital for daily survival as any astronomical alignment. Alongside this mastery of water, these ancient engineers demonstrated an equally sophisticated knowledge of the very materials they used. They understood that to build for eternity, you had to know the soul of the stone. Stone itself can sing, and in the hallways of the deepest past, it was taught to carry a sacred tune. Beyond the visual alignments and mathematical ratios, the ancient architects mastered another invisible force, the physics of sound. They designed chambers that could transform a simple chant into an overwhelming, visceral experience, encoding their understanding of acoustics directly into the rock. On the small Mediterranean island of Malta, the Hypogeum, a labyrinthine underground temple carved from solid limestone, holds one of the most profound sonic mysteries. One specific chamber, known as the Oracle Room, is engineered to resonate at a specific low frequency. A human voice speaking within it is not merely echoed. It is amplified and distorted, the sound waves vibrating through the very stone floor and into the bones of the people standing there. This was not an accidental byproduct of construction. It was a deliberate tool, likely used in rituals to induce altered states of consciousness, where the boundary between the physical world and the spiritual realm seemed to dissolve in a cascade of sound. Across the Atlantic, the Mayan pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza demonstrates a different kind of acoustic genius. If you clap your hands at the base of its massive staircase, the sound does not return as a simple echo. It comes back as a distinct chirping sound, a perfect mimic of the sacred Quetzal bird, a creature deeply woven into their mythology. This was not a happy coincidence. The precise angle and spacing of the stone steps were calculated to fracture the sound wave, creating this specific auditory symbol. In that moment, the architecture itself seemed to bring a divine presence to life. These sonic effects reveal a sophisticated, encoded knowledge of sound wave physics, resonance, and architectural acoustics. The builders were not just creating spaces to be seen. They were building environments to be felt and heard, turning entire structures into massive musical instruments or spiritual amplifiers. This multi-sensory approach to encoding data shows a holistic view of science, one where astronomy, geometry, and acoustics were not separate disciplines but interconnected threads in the same cosmic fabric. The very stones were chosen and placed not only for their visual properties but for how they would conduct vibration and channel sound, suggesting an awareness of the unseen energies that move through both the earth and the air around us. These invisible lines across the landscape present one of archaeology's most enduring puzzles. The theory of ley lines proposes that ancient sacred sites, from stone circles to hilltop temples, are not randomly placed. Instead, they are said to be connected by straight, energetic pathways that crisscross the globe. Proponents of this idea suggest our ancestors could somehow perceive these subtle earth currents, perhaps telluric energies flowing through the ground or shifts in the planet's magnetic field. They then deliberately built their monuments directly upon these lines, creating a vast, interconnected network of power points. To its supporters, this explains the seemingly purposeful alignment of sites separated by vast distances and centuries of time. Mainstream science remains deeply skeptical, pointing out that with so many ancient sites dotting the map, finding straight lines between them can be a matter of simple chance. Yet the sheer persistence of the alignment narrative is undeniably intriguing. It forces a compelling question. What if, beyond their celestial and architectural genius, these cultures possessed a form of sensitivity to the living earth that we have since lost? If there is any fragment of truth to this idea, it would mean the stone archives hold another layer of data, a map of the planet's own subtle pulse. This pushes our definition of scientific data to its limits, inviting us to consider a world where energy, geology, and spirituality were a single, unified field of study. Whether these lines represent measurable energy or simply the symbolic pathways of a sacred geography, their lasting power lies in what they underscore. The placement of these monuments was never accidental. Every stone circle on a hill, every pyramid on a plateau was situated with profound intention. The ultimate purpose of this vast global data storage system was not merely to record information, but to use it as a foundation. It was designed to sustain civilization itself, generation after generation, by locking the essential secrets of survival into the one thing that would truly last. The survival of millions depended directly on the data locked within these stone archives. This was not abstract knowledge. It was the applied science of feeding a civilization, and the most brilliant examples are not isolated temples but entire engineered landscapes. The breathtaking rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras are far more than beautiful scenery. They are a vast, open-air textbook on sustainable agriculture, carved directly into the mountains. Each stone retaining wall is a lesson in soil conservation, preventing erosion on steep slopes. The intricate network of channels that directs water from the forested mountaintops down through every level is a masterclass in gravity-fed irrigation. This entire system, maintained for over 2,000 years, is a permanent record of how to cultivate a rugged terrain without depleting it, a continuous cycle of knowledge written in mud and stone. This practical data was often centralized and disseminated from specific, powerful locations. The Incan sun temples, like the Coricancha in Cusco, functioned as the administrative hubs of a vast empire. From these stone complexes, priest astronomers used their celestial observations to coordinate planting and harvest times across dozens of different microclimates, from coastal deserts to high-altitude valleys. The empire ran on this synchronized agricultural clock, with the stone structures serving as the central processing unit that ensured every region acted in concert with the cosmic and seasonal cycles. This encoded knowledge was the ultimate safeguard against collapse, a society that could accurately predict the arrival of the monsoon or knew the precise day to plant maize based on the sun's position, held a powerful buffer against famine. The stone calendar at Machu Picchu or the solar alignments at Mesopotamia's ziggurats provided this reliable, perennial data. The information was so critical to survival that its preservation became a matter of highest importance. This often meant the most crucial data was not publicly displayed but safeguarded, transmitted through secretive initiations or encoded in ways that only a select few could fully decipher. This drive to protect vital data created a world of secret knowledge. Why go to such extraordinary lengths to hide information in plain sight, carved into stone for all to see yet understood by so few? In many ancient societies, advanced understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering was not considered public property. It was sacred power, a dangerous force that in the wrong hands could destabilize the social order or be twisted for malevolent purposes. This knowledge was the exclusive domain of a trained elite, a class of priest scholars who guarded it as fervently as any state secret. Encoding this information into the very fabric of their monuments was the perfect solution. It preserved the data for eternity, locking it into a medium that could not be burned, lost, or easily altered, while simultaneously concealing its true meaning behind a veil of symbolism, geometry, and alignment. The uninitiated would see only a temple or a tomb, a place of worship or a ruler's memorial. They would walk through its corridors unaware they were traversing a living library, its most profound lessons invisible to their untrained eyes. The true meaning was unlocked not through casual observation, but through a rigorous process of initiation. These were not simple ceremonies. They were a multi-layered educational system where the monument itself served as the ultimate teaching machine. Think of the labyrinthine passageways of an Egyptian temple, guiding the initiate on a symbolic journey from the bright, outer world of the profane into the dark, inner sanctum of ultimate truth. Each courtyard, each columned hall, each sealed doorway represented a new level of understanding, a new principle to be mastered before proceeding further. The very path one walked was a curriculum in stone, a physical manifestation of the intellectual and spiritual ascent required to grasp the cosmos's secrets. The Great Pyramid's hidden chambers and narrow, ascending shafts are a perfect example. They were not just architectural features, they were a carefully sequenced revelation. An initiate might first learn the principles of terrestrial measurement in the subterranean chamber, then progress to understanding stellar alignments in the Queen's chamber, and finally, in the King's chamber, be confronted with the profound mathematical and astronomical codes woven into the structure's very dimensions. This progressive disclosure ensured that a student was intellectually and ethically prepared for each new layer of power. It prevented the knowledge from being corrupted by the unprepared or misused for selfish gain. The system was a brilliant safeguard, ensuring that only those who had proven their worth and comprehension could access the full archive. For us today, the challenge is different. We are the uninitiated standing before these silent structures. To truly decode their messages, we must attempt to become initiated into their way of thinking. We must learn to see beyond the stone to the symphony of data it contains, to read the language of angles and alignments, and to understand that for these ancient architects, science and spirit were one and the same. The silent stone is finally beginning to speak our language. We are no longer limited to measuring tapes and compasses. A technological revolution is giving us the tools to become true initiates, to read the ancient code with a clarity that was once the sole province of its creators. Light detection and ranging, or Lidar, acts like a powerful X-ray vision, firing laser pulses from aircraft to strip away dense jungle canopies and reveal the ghostly outlines of entire cities hidden for centuries. This is not just finding new ruins, it is revealing the full context of known sites, showing us that a solitary pyramid was often the centerpiece of a vast, planned urban grid, a complex network of roads and plazas that followed a deliberate geometric logic. In the digital realm, archaeoastronomy software allows us to rewind the sky. We can input the precise latitude and longitude of a stone circle and run the celestial clock backward thousands of years, verifying if a specific alignment targeted a star that has since drifted from its ancient position. This digital time travel has confirmed many long-held suspicions, proving that certain temple corridors were indeed sightlines to long-dead stars, turning speculative theory into verifiable fact. Even more subtle are the discoveries made through three-dimensional modeling and fractal analysis. By creating perfect digital replicas of a structure, we can analyze its proportions from any angle, uncovering repeating ratios and geometric patterns that are simply invisible to the naked eye. These tools reveal the architectural fingerprints of the builders, the subconscious mathematical rules they followed, a hidden grammar of form and space. Each of these technological breakthroughs feels like finding a new key for a lock we did not even know existed. Yet, for every mystery solved, a deeper, more profound question seems to emerge. The very precision of our tools has ignited fierce debates. When a software model shows a 99.9% alignment with a star, is that proof of ancient intent, or is it merely a statistical inevitability given the countless stars and countless stone features? Skeptics argue that we are seeing patterns we are programmed to find, connecting dots in a way that makes sense to our modern, scientifically trained minds, but that might have held an entirely different meaning for the culture that built them. Are we truly decoding their message, or are we simply writing our own? Our own minds are the final frontier in decoding these ancient messages. The human brain is a masterful pattern recognition machine, so adept that it often finds shapes in clouds and faces in the moon. This tendency, known as pareidolia, is the single greatest trap for anyone trying to read the stone archives. We risk seeing a sophisticated star chart in what is simply a random scatter of cave paintings, or interpreting a building's foundational orientation as a deliberate alignment with a specific constellation. The same impulse that lets us see a lion in the stars can lead us to connect dots that the original builders never intended to link. This is compounded by confirmation bias, our subconscious desire to find evidence that supports our pre-existing theories. If we believe a culture possessed advanced astronomical knowledge, we might meticulously measure 100 temple features, find 2 that align with celestial bodies, and declare it proof while ignoring the 98 that show no correlation at all. An ancient doorway facing the rising sun might be a profound solar calendar, or it might simply be aligned to the cardinal directions for purely practical or symbolic reasons, with no specific star in mind. This is where true scientific rigor must take over from romantic speculation. Modern archaeology uses powerful tools like statistical analysis to weigh the probability of an alignment being intentional. If 1,000 possible stars could have been framed by a single window, Finding one that matches is not statistically remarkable. But if the same window aligns with one of the brightest, most culturally significant stars at the exact time of the site's construction, the odds of that being a coincidence plummet. This mathematical skepticism is not a dismissal of ancient genius. It is the highest form of respect. It forces us to clear away the noise of our own projections and confront the builder's actual achievements on their own terms. When we apply this rigorous filter, a stunning picture comes into focus, one that hints at connections spanning the entire globe. Isolated cultures, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years, arrived at eerily similar solutions to the same fundamental problems. The pyramid form emerged independently in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and Mesopotamia. Precise astronomical observatories were built in the deserts of the Middle East and the highlands of Peru. This is not evidence of a single lost mother culture, but rather a powerful testament to the universal human mind confronting a universal cosmos. The real mystery is not who taught whom, but why the human intellect, when pushed to its limits, so consistently turns to stone to write its greatest story. These uncanny echoes across the globe are impossible to ignore. A pyramid rises from the flat Giza plateau in Egypt, and another, with startlingly similar geometric precision, pierces the jungle canopy in Guatemala. On one side of the world, the Inca shape multi-ton stones to fit together without mortar, a feat mirrored with equal mastery in the walls of ancient Japanese castles. A stone circle in the English countryside marks the solstice sunrise, just as a temple doorway in distant Cambodia frames the very same celestial event. How can such specific ideas emerge independently, separated by impassable oceans and thousands of years? The explanations offered are as fascinating as the phenomenon itself. Some propose the existence of a single, now vanished mother culture, a sophisticated Atlantean-like civilization whose seafaring survivors seeded this knowledge around the world. Others argue for sporadic but significant ancient transoceanic contact, where bold Phoenician or Polynesian voyagers might have shared the blueprints for megalithic construction across continents. But perhaps the most profound answer lies not in external contact, but deep within the universal human mind. This is the theory of psychic unity, the idea that humanity, when faced with the same fundamental problems and opportunities, will naturally arrive at similar solutions. The pyramid is not just a mystical shape, it is the most stable, logical form for reaching toward the heavens with stone. Aligning a monument with the solstice sun is not esoteric knowledge. It is the most dramatic, reliable, and universally observable celestial event, a fixed point in the turning year that any culture watching the sky would eventually recognize and mark. The drive to build something permanent, to shout into the future, seems to be a core part of our species' identity. This shared architectural language speaks of a shared human experience. It tells us that the awe inspired by the night sky, the desire to understand the cycles of time, and the profound need to leave a mark that outlasts a single lifetime are not cultural quirks. They are fundamental human traits. The Egyptian priest astronomer who charted the star Sirius and the Mayan calendar keeper who tracked Venus were, in a very real sense, colleagues separated by geography, working on the same grand project, using the same durable medium to preserve their findings. They were all answering the same call to build a library that could survive the collapse of empires and the forgetting of languages. This global network of stone archives represents a collective human legacy, a distributed backup of our earliest scientific and spiritual breakthroughs. It suggests that the impulse to encode knowledge is as ancient and intrinsic to us as language itself. The true scale of these stone libraries is almost beyond modern comprehension. We are not talking about a single community building a wall. We are talking about entire civilizations pivoting for generations to erect a single, perfect message for the future. The Great Pyramid alone required an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. That is a mountain of stone moved, shaped, and set with breathtaking precision. The data encoded here is not just in the pyramid's alignment, but in the sheer, staggering fact of its existence. This was a society-wide operating system running at full capacity. The logistical genius on display is itself a form of preserved knowledge. How do you feed 10,000 workers, not for a month but for 20 years? How do you house them, manage their water supply, and treat their injuries? This required a sophisticated bureaucracy capable of planning agricultural surplus, managing complex supply chains, and administering a vast, specialized workforce of quarrymen, haulers, engineers, and cooks. The administrative clay tablets of Mesopotamia give us a glimpse into this machine, recording daily beer and bread rations for thousands of laborers. The pyramid, in its silent majesty, is the ultimate expression of that administrative data. The engineering data is even more direct. Transporting a 200-ton granite block from a quarry 500 miles away is a permanent lesson in physics. It demonstrates a masterful understanding of leverage, of friction, of the use of sledges on lubricated tracks, and of river barge design. The act of lifting these stones into place, whether with immense ramps or ingenious counterweight systems, was a live, large-scale experiment in mechanics, its successful results set in stone for us to study. This was not the work of slaves under the lash, as old tales suggested. Evidence from workers' tombs near the Giza Plateau shows they were well fed, received medical care, and were buried with honor. This reveals another profound piece of data, the social contract that made it all possible. These projects were likely driven by a shared, transcendent belief, a communal buy in that united a society in a goal greater than any single lifetime. The ability to inspire and organize such collective effort is perhaps the most valuable piece of information these archives preserve, a blueprint for human cooperation on a grand scale. The legacy of this immense endeavor is a gift that continues to give, challenging our own notions of what is possible when a civilization dares to build for eternity. The astronomical data locked within these ancient stones is now helping scientists solve modern problems. For instance, the precise solstice alignments at sites like Stonehenge or the Karnak Temple provide a fixed record of the Earth's axial tilt over millennia. Modern astronomy knows this tilt changes very slowly in a cycle lasting 41,000 years. By measuring how far these ancient alignments have drifted from the Sun's current position, researchers can refine their models of this long-term wobble, offering a data point that no satellite or telescope could ever provide on its own. This is a multi-thousand-year baseline, a gift from the past that calibrates our understanding of the planet's future. The same principle applies to engineering. The dry stone walls of Machu Picchu, assembled without mortar, have withstood centuries of earthquakes in one of the most seismically active regions on Earth. The way these stones are cut to fit together creates a structure that can sway and settle during a tremor without collapsing. Contemporary engineers are now studying this polygonal masonry, not to copy it, but to understand the principles behind its flexibility. This ancient knowledge is inspiring new designs for seismic-resistant buildings, proving that these structures are not just relics, but active laboratories for sustainable design. This creates a powerful bridge across time. The Mayas' obsessive tracking of Venus, recorded in their codices and embodied in their buildings, gives us an unparalleled record of that planet's cycle. Modern astronomers use this data to check the stability of the solar system over deep time. These stone archives offer a unique long-term dataset that is simply impossible to replicate today. We cannot wait 1,000 years to see the results of an experiment, but they already did, and they left us the results carved in granite. Yet this incredible legacy is now more fragile than ever. The very modernity that allows us to decode these sites also threatens to erase them. These silent libraries have endured for millennia, yet their survival is no longer guaranteed. The very air that surrounds them has turned corrosive. Industrial pollution mixes with rainwater, creating a weak acid that steadily dissolves the surfaces of limestone temples and marble statues. With each passing year, delicate hieroglyphs become a little fainter, their sharp edges softening into illegible blurs. This is not a slow, natural decay. It is a chemical assault that is accelerating. On the ground, a different kind of erosion is underway. The feet of millions of visitors each year act like a slow-motion sandblaster, gradually wearing down ancient processional ways and polished stone floors that took generations to perfect. A single touch might seem harmless, but the cumulative effect of countless hands on a carved relief transfers oils and acids from human skin, permanently damaging the stone's crystalline structure. The sheer weight of crowds can also destabilize ancient foundations never designed for such constant, concentrated footfall. But the most insidious threat is the one that alters the entire environment. Climate change is no longer a future prediction. It is a present danger to these sites. More frequent and intense hurricanes batter coastal structures, their storm surges swallowing entire archaeological zones. The ancient port city of Alexandria, with its sunken palaces and libraries, is losing its battle with the rising Mediterranean. Inland, prolonged droughts parch the earth, causing it to shrink and pull away from foundational stones, while subsequent deluges of rain then wash away the destabilized soil. In frozen regions, thawing permafrost is causing entire burial mounds and stone settings to slump and collapse. Even the planet's geology is reacting. As ice sheets melt and redistribute the Earth's weight, tectonic pressures shift, leading to an increase in seismic activity. A single earthquake, even a minor one, can topple a megalith that has stood in perfect alignment for 5,000 years. The precision of its astronomical sightline, achieved with such painstaking effort, can be lost in a few seconds of tremors. This is a race against time to protect humanity's oldest and most durable hard drives. The data they contain is non-renewable. Once a carving is gone, its specific message is lost forever. Once a stone falls out of alignment, the celestial clock it represented stops ticking. We are now the guardians of this legacy. The responsibility for safeguarding these stone archives, this collective memory of human ingenuity, has officially passed from their builders to us. The responsibility we hold is immense, a direct handoff from ancient architects to modern stewards. How do we manage these fragile sites without loving them to death? It is a three-way ethical puzzle, balancing the relentless hunger for new research against the public's right to be inspired, all while enforcing conservation measures strict enough to ensure survival. The footfall of a single tourist seems insignificant, but multiply that by millions each year, and you have a force of erosion as powerful as any river. The solution lies in a new kind of ingenuity, one that protects the original by creating a perfect digital twin. Through techniques like high-resolution laser scanning and photogrammetry, we can now build immersive, three-dimensional virtual models of entire sites. This allows anyone, anywhere in the world, to walk through the chambers of the Great Pyramid or stand in the center of Stonehenge without ever touching a single stone. Virtual tourism is not a replacement for the awe of being there, but it is a vital pressure valve, reducing physical wear and tear while expanding global access. For researchers, the shift is just as profound. The days of needing to move or even touch delicate artifacts to study them are over. Ground-penetrating radar can map entire subterranean cities without breaking ground. Drones equipped with multi-spectral cameras reveal faded paintings and hidden construction lines invisible to the human eye. These non-invasive survey methods are the equivalent of learning to read a book without ever turning its pages, preserving the integrity of the original text for centuries to come. This ethical imperative is clear and urgent. We are not the owners of this knowledge. We are its temporary guardians, a single link in a chain stretching back thousands of years, and we must hope, reaching forward for thousands more. Our primary duty is to ensure these stone archives survive for another 5,000 years. And in a fascinating twist, our modern world is now grappling with this same ancient challenge. We are actively building our own archives for the future, confronting the same fundamental question of how to make vital knowledge truly permanent. The drive to shout into the future is not a relic of the past. Our own civilization is now constructing its own versions of these stone archives, consciously designing messages meant to outlast languages, empires, and even our current understanding of the world. Deep in the New Mexico desert, the waste isolation pilot plant faces a problem our ancestors never imagined. It must warn future civilizations about buried nuclear waste, a danger that will persist for 10,000 years. How do you communicate danger across a span of time longer than all of recorded history? Their solution is profoundly ancient. They plan to surround the site with massive granite monoliths, etched with warnings and symbolic messages about what lies beneath. This is not just a sign, it is a deliberate, multi-layered archive using the durability of stone and the universality of basic symbols to transmit a single, critical piece of data. Do not dig here. On an even grander scale, the Long Now Foundation is building a 10,000-year clock inside a mountain in Texas. This monumental mechanical clock is engineered to tick for millennia, its chimes marking time long after our calendars are forgotten. It is a modern megalith not aligned with a star but with the slow, patient passage of centuries themselves. These projects are not ancient history. They are happening right now. They prove that the same human impulse that built the pyramids and stone circles is alive and well. We are still that species that looks at the horizon of time and feels compelled to leave a message, to build a library that can survive the collapse of our own world. We are still choosing the most durable materials we can find and encoding our most vital knowledge into forms we hope will be intelligible to those who come after. This powerful continuity forces a tantalizing question. If we are building such sophisticated time capsules today with all our modern knowledge, what incredible archives from the deep past still lie undiscovered? Perhaps the greatest stone library of all is still buried, waiting for its light to be found. For all our advanced technology, some stone archives refuse to surrender their secrets. Göbekli Tepe, a sprawling complex of carved T-shaped pillars in Turkey, predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. It rewrites human history, built by hunter-gatherers long before the rise of agriculture and cities. Who were these people, and what was the purpose of this immense ritual space? The pillars are covered with intricate carvings of animals, a menagerie of foxes, scorpions, and vultures that may represent a forgotten constellation of myths. Was it a temple, an astronomical observatory, or something we have not yet conceived? Its mystery is a profound challenge to our understanding of civilization's dawn. High in the Peruvian Andes, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman presents a different kind of enigma. Its walls are a jigsaw puzzle of colossal stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons. These stones are not simply stacked, They are intricately shaped with complex angles and curves, fitting together so perfectly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. How did the Inca achieve such precision without iron tools or the wheel? The exact method remains one of engineering's greatest puzzles, a testament to a lost technique of stone softening or acoustic levitation that modern science cannot replicate. Then there is the Antikythera mechanism, a corroded bronze device recovered from an ancient Greek shipwreck. For decades, it was a curiosity, but advanced imaging has revealed it to be an astonishingly complex analog computer, with dozens of interlocking gears that could predict planetary positions, lunar phases, and even the timing of eclipses. Its existence implies a level of Greek technological sophistication we never knew existed. Who built this intricate device, and what other marvels were lost? These unsolved puzzles are not failures of our science. They are invitations. They remind us that for every code we crack, a dozen more await their cipher. The silent stones still have stories to tell, and the greatest chapters may still be unread. The story of the stone archives is still being written, with new chapters being unearthed at a breathtaking pace. Every year, hidden chambers are revealed within the Great Pyramid, not by breaking through walls, but by using subatomic particles called muons. This muon tomography allows us to peer through solid stone, mapping voids and passages that have been sealed for millennia. In the dense jungles of the Amazon, light detection and ranging technology is stripping away the green canopy to expose the ghostly outlines of vast, interconnected cities. These are not small villages, but complex urban centers with roads, plazas, and pyramids, rewriting our entire understanding of pre-Columbian civilization in the Americas. The very ground beneath our feet is proving to be a palimpsest, with each technological advance revealing another layer of the ancient world we never knew existed. What we are witnessing is not just the discovery of new sites, but the birth of new tools for reading them. The next frontier involves quantum sensing, a technology so sensitive it could detect minute variations in the Earth's magnetic field caused by buried foundations or ancient fire pits. Artificial intelligence, trained on millions of architectural and astronomical patterns, could soon scan satellite imagery and identify potential sites with an intuition that surpasses human capability. These systems might one day decipher the purpose of a structure by analyzing its geometry against a global database of sacred ratios, or automatically match a temple's alignment with a specific star's position from 5,000 years ago. The next decade promises to be the most revolutionary period in our understanding of ancient knowledge since the scholars of the Renaissance first looked back at the classical world. This is not a passive observation of the past, it is an active, unfolding conversation. We are no longer just archaeologists with brushes. We are data scientists, physicists, and programmers collaborating to run the ancient software on our modern hardware. This ongoing quest, this relentless drive to decode the messages left for us, creates a profound and direct connection to the minds of the ancient builders. We are the future generation they hoped would eventually arrive, the ones finally learning to speak their silent stone language. A pyramid is more than a tomb. It is a shout of defiance against the silence of time. This deep-seated human impulse to build for the future is the ultimate data point encoded in every stone archive. It is not about the ego of a single pharaoh or chieftain. It is a collective act of profound hope, a declaration that our knowledge, our stories, and our understanding of the cosmos are too valuable to be lost. We are driven by a fundamental need to reach across the generations, to whisper to our descendants, "We were here, and this is what we learned." This belief transforms the back-breaking labor of moving mountains of stone into a sacred duty. The anonymous mason who carved a star chart into a temple wall did so with the conviction that someone, someday, would look upon it and understand. That is an act of incredible faith in a future you will never see. This same impulse connects the Egyptian engineer plotting solar alignments, the Mayan priest tracking Venus, and the modern team designing a 10,000-year clock. We are all links in the same unbroken chain of curiosity and legacy. The true inheritance these structures protect is not just astronomical data or engineering secrets. It is the enduring spirit of a species that looks to the horizon and dares to build a message in stone, trusting that the future will be wise enough to read it. Our journey through the silent stone libraries reveals a history of dazzling intellect. These monuments were not the work of primitive cultures, but of sophisticated societies who engineered the most durable hard drives the world has ever known. They stored the core data of their civilization, astronomy, mathematics, and ecology, not on fragile parchment, but in a language of angles, alignments, and enduring rock. This redefines our very idea of science, pushing us to see it not as a modern invention, but as a universal human pursuit to understand and record the world. Each decoded alignment, each understood ratio, is a recovered chapter from humanity's grandest story. The true lesson etched into these stones is not just about the past, but about the future. They stand as a permanent challenge to our own short-term thinking, a masterclass in building a legacy meant to span millennia. What will our own civilization leave behind that speaks so clearly to the people of the year 7000? The stones have given us their message. Now the question passes to us: which of these ancient mysteries captures your imagination the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation across the ages.